The League One season is drawing to a close as the playoff battles have commenced. We now know the two finalists heading into the 2023-24 playoff final. Bolton Wanderers will face Oxford United at Wembley Stadium in order to compete for a place for that final championship spot. Now, how did those games occur? What happened and how did both sides end up in this playoff final, ready for the final chance at the championship? So, as we can see here, Bolton came away 5-4 winners on aggregate versus Barnsley, and Oxford United came away 2-1 winners against Peterborough. Now, I said in my previous video where I was reviewing the previous fixtures and then previewing these fixtures, I said I couldn't really see past Bolton getting past Barnsley. I thought Barnsley had left themselves too much to do, but Barnsley had a very, very good game that night and they were very good. And for me, I think they're very unlucky not to have taken it at least to extra time and penalties. And I think you can say the same for Peterborough in their game versus Oxford United. Now, I thought Oxford United did a very, very good job in their game. I thought they defended really well. And I put out on my Twitter during the game and then after the game, Peterborough got forewarned, in my opinion. Des Buckingham did his best Paul Warne impression with how he set up his team in that game. We'll go through all the numbers and that in just a moment. But for me, you have to feel a bit bad for Barnsley. I thought they were absolutely excellent the other night. They came away 3-2 winners on the night, but they just left themselves too much to do. If they'd have scored that late equaliser and not conceded the corner in the first leg, they'd be going through right now. And I thought Barnsley were the much better side against Bolton Wanderers. You can disagree with me if you want down in the comments. I'm always happy to hear what you guys have to say about these games. But for me, I thought Bolton were very poor. I thought the first... If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We do have memberships on the channel now. If you do want to join that, there is a link in the description down below. So do go and check that out. Obviously, no obligation. Let me know your thoughts on both of these playoff fixtures down in the comments. And I'll catch you in the next video. 10-15 minutes of the game. We'll get into it properly in a moment when we go through the numbers, the goals, lineups, etc. I thought Bolton were there for the taking for Barnsley. And I just felt that if they got one, it had changed the complexion of the game, and it did. Bolton turned up for a couple of minutes and then disappeared again. And then Oxford United, as I just said, they forewarned Peterborough United. They did an excellent defensive display, and it was all about just getting through. It was not about putting on a show. It was not about playing the most attractive football, and sometimes that is what you need. And we're going to see a battle between Bolton and Oxford, in my opinion. There's a lot of people that think Bolton are going to batter Oxford, but for me, I can't see it. I really thought Peterborough would get the job done on Oxford. I thought they had more than enough quality to get the job done as well. And for me, I think Oxford put in an excellent display. And it's one of those where Wembley is calling now, and Peterborough have been there already this season, but they don't get to go back. Bolton were there last year. Are they going to be in the same situation again this year? Are they going to be able to take away a 4-0 win like they did against Plymouth last season in the EFL Trophy? Personally, I can't see it. But should we get into both of the fixtures now? We're going to look at Bolton versus Barnsley first, and then we'll take a look at Oxford versus Peterborough. So, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, I felt for the first half an hour, the game was there for the taking. And Barnsley got that first goal, and it was a really good finish by Cosgrove. And I have to say, at that point, I thought, oh, Barnsley are going to go and absolutely dominate this game now, because Bolton just didn't seem to have anything going for them. And then they pick up two really nice goals. I think they were from set pieces, if I remember rightly. And it's just one of those where Bolton took, realistically, the two big opportunities they had in the game. Don't get me wrong, they had other opportunities as well as the game went on, but it was like the two major opportunities they had, they took, and that put Barnsley in a really, really precarious position. And I thought Barnsley were excellent, and I can't say that about Barnsley a lot over the past few weeks. I think this is their first win in about 10-11 games, which is amazing, really, considering they ended up in the playoffs. And I thought Barnsley put on an absolute clinic of how to beat Bolton. Took their chances really well. I thought Santos for Bolton was quite poor. I think he was really at fault for their first goal and maybe their second. I might be getting the goals mixed up, but I know he was at fault for one of them. Some poor play, and just needs to stick to the basics. Like, for me, he's one, like Santos, don't get me wrong, good player, good League One player, but I think he's one of the most hyped defenders, overhyped defenders in the league. I don't think he's massively that good. We'll just look at the basic numbers now, and you look at the XG, and you can see neither side really massively impressive. Only 1.17 for Barnsley, 0.91 for Bolton. Both teams 2 shots on target and 10 or 11 shots. If we do look at the lineups, like, it's pretty much the same teams for both teams from their first leg, apart from the fact Cosgrove came in for Devante Cole. I thought it... I in my personal opinion, I really like Sam Cosgrove. I think he's got some excellent movement and he does some excellent things. As a number 9, he's really good at holding up the play. He gets in the defenders' heads. And for me, I thought he did a real good job of keeping, really, Santos ineffective, if that makes sense. And I thought the defence of Barnsley were quite good, apart from on set pieces. I thought Phillips had a really good game. I mentioned him in the preview of this game just gone and the one before. I thought it was going to be highly influential for Barnsley if they were going to get a good result. Now, do I think Bolton deserved to get to the playoff final? Yes. I think it's one of those where Bolton were that side that ultimately, if they hadn't have slipped up when they did, they probably would have got automatic promotion. And I think if you finish in third, you have to make it to the playoff final because you're the third best team in the league. You've got to beat those teams around you. And I do think Bolton are probably... And in complete honesty, are Bolton even the third best team in the league? Like, because I think Peterborough, excellent. I think Oxford, excellent on their day. I think anyone can beat anyone in this division. And that is one of the big problems that we have. And if we do look at both the benches, they used them. Conor Grant came on, got an assist. Devante Cole came on, and I thought he was quite influential when he came on. Obviously not to the effect that Barnsley needed, but I did think he did a job. And then it seemed like the normal substitutions, Jerome and Adebayo on for Charles and Collins, and then Dempsey and Morley came on as well. So for me, it's one of those games, it is. And I thought Barnsley, if they'd have gone through, they would have absolutely deserved it. And I do think they were very, very unlucky. I thought Bolton, they did the job they needed to do. And it's one of those, really, where I don't think Bolton were that good in either leg. But I thought Barnsley were excellent in the second leg. I just thought they offered nothing in the first leg. And I think Barnsley went about it the wrong way. I think they should have gone for it at home, sat in away. But it's one of those. I thought Barnsley were the much better side on the day. 5 shots on target out of 10 total shots. 3 shots on target for Bolton. 52-48 on possession. If we do look at the first half to second half split, look, Bolton had all of the ball, but didn't really do much with it. Obviously, they scored both their goals in that first half, both really late on in the first half, which really gives an inaccurate representation of how that first half really went, in my opinion. Then if you look at the second half, it was all Barnsley, but they weren't able to create anything really clinical. Obviously, they did score their 2 goals in the second half, but it was one of those where all the chances were sort of not massive chances. They were just an average chance, and it's one of those where I thought Barnsley excellent on the day. I think they deserved to be at Wembley after this game, but ultimately Bolton did the job in the first leg. Barnsley were unable to do it in the second leg, so we'll be seeing Bolton Wanderers line up on Wembley Stadium. I think it's the 18th of May. It's not long away now, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Bolton line up that day, because I think it's going to be an interesting battle between them and Oxford. we look now at Peterborough versus Oxford, and I personally call this a Paul Warne masterclass. Now, don't get me wrong, I know Paul Warne isn't the manager of Oxford. I know he's had nothing to do with this game in the slightest, but Des Buckingham has put on a Paul Warne-like performance to get the job done against Peterborough. I think he's done absolutely magnificent. Peterborough were by far the better side across both legs, in my opinion. I think they created the most chances across both legs. I think they had more of the ball across both legs. They probably had more XG over both legs. But Oxford United did what was necessary. They got their goal in the first leg, which meant they could come into this second leg and defend, really. That's all they needed to do. And Knight scored a really good goal off a really good Harrison Burrows set piece. Now, I can't see Harrison Burrows being at Peterborough next season with the performances he's put in this season. And that free kick was just another show of what he's capable of. And it was an absolutely brilliant ball. I think it was Mark Harris who was defending Josh Knight and was just unable to stay in front of him. And he lost track of the ball. Josh Knight puts it in a really nice finish as well, to be fair. And Peterborough looked as if, right, game on. But then down the other end, Oxford United win a free kick right on the edge of the box. And something which I think the keeper was going to save anyway, but Harrison Burrows chucks his arm in front of it. And what a stupid decision he'll think that is now. He probably would have blocked it anyway without putting his arms up. And there was defenders all around him, the keeper and everything. So it was like, there was really no need. And it then ended up being a penalty, and the man who I said would be the difference in this game, Cameron Brannigan, stepped up, scored, I think it's his 10th penalty of the season out of 10 penalties. And I just think Oxford knew what they needed to do. They didn't have to have a lot of the ball. They didn't have to try and come out and play against Peterborough United. They just had to finish the game in the lead. And that is what they did in the end. 30% possession to 70% possession. If we do look at the rest of the numbers, like Peterborough, how they didn't win this game, I will never know. They will feel very unlucky not to come away with at least extra time and penalties. There were some really good chances late on for Mason Clark and Clark Harris. There was some really good chances within the game as well. And do you know, I don't feel sorry for Peterborough, because I think they showed, it's not like they didn't show what they're capable of. They put on a really good performance in both legs. And again, it's like I've said a lot of the time this season, since I've started making these sort of League One style videos, that you've got to be clinical. You have got to be clinical. And Peterborough weren't. And it's as simple as that. 18 shots, 8 on target, 4 big chances. They missed 3 of them, a 1.74 XG. They just couldn't take their chances. And I said it about Bolton a few months ago, even a few weeks ago. I've said it about Barnsley. I said it about Lincoln City. If you aren't taking your chances, especially those ones inside the box, you're going to have problems, because you can't rely on a 25-yard screamer. You can't rely on the ball bobbling to you in the box and creating a good chance for you. But it's not as if Peterborough didn't create chances, and that's something we have to acknowledge. They were a good side on the night. They probably did deserve to go through. But Oxford United put on a Paul Warne clinic. They absolutely just let Peterborough have the ball. And for me, I wish there was some sort of like map of where they had the ball, but I don't think there is. It would be good to see it if there was, because it was as Peterborough sort of had the ball a lot sort of in this area. If you look at my cursor on the screen, it was sort of in this area. And that's all well and good, because you've got Oxford with like a back five type thing. You've got their midfielders, their forwards. Like, they just could just sit in and just stay compact and not create many chances. And we do go and look at the lineups. You can see, obviously, it looks as if it's a 4-4, a 4-1-4-1. But for me, I don't think it was. Murphy at times was really deep. Dale at times was quite deep. Felt a bit disappointed for Goodrum. Came off injured after half an hour, but Brannigan came in, sat really deep at times. Harris was majorly deep at times. And it, for me, you look at both the sides and You would not put that Oxford United side as winners against Peterborough over 2 legs. You just wouldn't. You like Poku, Ricky J. Jones, Mason Clark are all unbelievable players. You've got Kiprianu, Collins, Randall didn't turn up. But for me, I think Oxford United did exactly what was needed to do. And Des Buckingham will be absolutely delighted with his performance. You look at like the bench. Both teams utilised their bench. No one can say that one bench was stronger than the other. And you look at the players that Peterborough brought on: Johnson, Clark, Harris, Ajaboy, Mothersilly, Fernandez. They brought on some really good players, and they had some other players available as well. And it's like, for me, if I'm Oxford United, I am absolutely delighted. Wembley is calling. Are they going to make it to the Championship? That is a big question. Now, as a Derby County fan, we all know that the Wembley experience can be absolutely amazing, but it can also be devastating. We saw with Derby County in 2014 and versus Aston Villa that it sometimes doesn't go your way. Now, sometimes it's managerial decisions and sometimes it's just poor performance, or sometimes it's mistakes. And that's something which Oxford and Bolton are going to have to keep on top of. They need to make sure that the players don't make too much of the occasion, in my opinion, because that will be a big problem for those players. If they think, oh my god, it's Wembley, we're playing at one of the biggest stadiums in England, and it can become a stress. It can become a real stress. So I'm really hoping it's going to be a really good game. We'll get a preview out over the next week or so. We'll take a look into both teams. We'll take a look into what can happen on the day. And we'll probably do more talk about these two games. I'm trying to get some average position charts and stuff like that for that, to discuss where Bolton and Oxford could hurt each other. So make sure you do stay tuned to the channel. Hit that subscribe button down below to stay tuned for all my latest content. There is a membership thing on this channel now. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with it, but if you do want to help the channel in a financial manner, it's £2.99, and you can join using the link in the description. So make sure you do check that out to see everything that you'll have access to from the jump before I give it a real proper look into. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.